We're here on Kentucky Lake this morning. We're gonna spend a couple days bass fishing. You know, we got water temps right now starting at about 53, probably gonna climb to 55, 56. It's pre-spawn. We're on down around New Johnsonville. This is an area of Kentucky Lake that I've never fished. We're actually idling out of the boat ramp right here by the bridge that crosses the lake right here. We think the fish will be pre-spawn, setting up on the points, traveling in the ditches. We've got our Garmin's all set up so that we've got our good map shading, where we're gonna go about 0 to 3 foot on our red. We're gonna go yellows and about 3 to 6, and green, you know, 6 to 10 probably. I think that's gonna really help me clue in on some of these areas where there's gonna be some of the depressions, maybe some ditches, some secondary points out there. I've also adjusted my depth level so that I know exactly you know, what we're dealing with. We're kind of around the winter drawdown right now, and when you're on the winter drawdown on this body of water, they really suck it down to prepare for the spring floods. I've adjusted my lake level to be at 354 exactly right now, so that all my numbers on my charts are gonna show up exactly what we're looking at. And that's just some of the great features that Garmin builds in, so that when I go to an area or you go to an area that you've never fished before, it clues you in on exactly what's going on out there, so you can feel comfortable that not only can you find fish, but you can navigate a little bit safer. Let's go fishing.
I love to fish shallow. To me, shallow, less than 5 foot of water is one of the funnest ways to fish. I like to throw the targets on the bank. I don't care what those targets are, reeds, rocks, laydowns, boat docks, anything, grass, I don't care what it is. I just like to fish shallow.
Chunking and winding in the spring, see if we can find some that have moved up into a flat and everything. And we're kind of going down through here. You can see the creek that's going in here. There's a big marina. I mean, the fish want to go back. It's just the natural migration, and you just got to get the bait in front of them and intersect them somewhere. So that's really all we're going to try to do. And when you can find them this time of the year, it's not uncommon to really wreck them. And Kentucky Lake has more than plenty to wreck. There he is. Right there at the boat, there is a drop off. I can see it on my sonar right there. I had my Panoptics out there. It was kind of doubled up, just a little sand drop. Come here. That's a nice, boy, he just barely got it. You know, this water's kind of muddy right here right now. Throwing that chartreuse black back. Caught him on the back hook. He just probably swiped at it. More than likely just moving in to set up the spawn. Nice fat Kentucky Lake bass. Whole bunch of them right out here. I'm right at the end of our shading, right where that drop off is. I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't look like it, you know, if you were just kind of, golly, I just got crushed. I can see so many fish on the Panoptics right now. I mean, they are just piled up on the Panoptics right in front of me. This is fixing to get stupid, I have a feeling.
Once you get your first bite, it's amazing how your whole mood changes and what you start to do and what you start to notice in an area. Immediately to the right of where I caught, you know, my first fish, I noticed there was a little kind of a bay, a little pocket. And when I look at my mapping, it looks really shallow. I had dialed in the exact water depth based on how low they'd drawn it down. And I'm thinking, man, there's not but a foot or two of water up in there. But I've learned in the past, that's all it takes sometimes. You just got to get in there, find where the little ditch is, find where maybe the wind's blowing the bait fish in, and if you can find a little bit of a depression, it might only be 6 inches to a foot in some of these shallow pockets, you can find a lot of fish.
They bite, they are fun to catch. Let him go back. Well, this is such a famous body of water. It's always fun to come over here. A lot of times I come over here and I don't necessarily get a chance to fish. We'll be doing the collegiate Cabela's Big Bass Bass presented by Berkeley, and I'll come over here and we'll work that, and you see all these kids coming in with 4-pounder after 4-pounder, and occasionally those 8s and 9s are rolling in. And this time I just decided to come over a couple days early and really get a chance to enjoy the area. I've been coming over here now for about 5 years straight to the Paris, Tennessee area for that event, and it's just fun. And I mean, I couldn't resist it. I had to come 2 days early.
You know, a few things to keep in mind when you're fishing shallow cover. Boat positioning is so key. You know, it's very easy to hit your trolling motor and just totally blow silt everywhere, but that's where a power pole really comes into play. You can ease up to the shallow cover, drop your power poles down, maintain position, and make multiple presentations from different angles with different baits. That's a couple of bites on that same cast. Use those power poles to my advantage right there. And there he is. This might be another drum. No, it's a bass. Oh man, down there, dirt, shallow. That's fun. Look at that. That's what you call eating it right there. When they get it right like that, that's eating it. Man, I'm fishing in 2.8 according to here, but I'm casting about 6 inches to catch these little guys that are up here. They sure are fun. Go back and see if we can't catch another one.
It's in our stomping grounds and our playground. It's in our sights and our commitment. It's in him, it was in them, and it will continue with her. It's in my nature. Is it in yours?
Oh, nice shot.
You put the cool in life. We put the cool in coolers. Arctic ice.
Engineered to excel, the Ranger Z500 and Z100 series are built for the ultimate ownership experience. It's a commitment to excellence packed with real-world advantages and exclusive features. Experience the accelerated performance standards of the legendary Ranger Z series. From first light to last cast, they're put together to set you apart. Yamaha Outboards. Reliability starts here.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
Let's get down to business. Quiet, you sons of fishes. Now, what?
I'm switching sonar.
Why?
Cause now I can see fish swimming live in front of my boat. I even see fish attack my lure. Y'all's sonar's just history. I'm out.
I'm with him.
The Fisherman's Handbook is brought to you in part by Cabela's. It's in your nature. Yamaha Marine. Reliability starts here. Ranger Boats. Still building legends, one at a time.
You know, it is winter here. We're on the winter drawdown, and we're over visiting Kentucky Lake, you know, fishing out of Paris, Tennessee, and water temperatures, you know, started this morning in the low 50s. They've climbed to about 55, and we've been seeing a lot of bait fish, really shallow. When I mean shallow, you can tell we're in the mud right here, and we've struggled on the ledge deal in the grass out there. We haven't been able to get any bites, so we're up here in this dirt shallow because there's bait here, and there's some bass up here feeding. So, you know, the moral of the story, even though it is super cold, those afternoons, from super cold, I mean the water temperature, those afternoons when they warm up, I mean, they can push those fish really shallow, and if there's bait in that same area, you can flat out catch them a lot of times. You talk about matching the hatch. Look what we just snagged right here. You know, I mean, that's basically got a lot of the same types of color that we're throwing on our lipless crankbait right here. That's what you want to do when you're fishing. You want to get as close to that, you know, matching the hatch as you can, what they're feeding on. And we saw a lot of the spate fish up here, you know, flipping and jumping out of the water. Man, I just hit more bait right there. And the result was, you know, several bites. No giants, we just hadn't hit them, but that could happen on any given cast, because now I know in my mind I'm throwing exactly what these guys are in here eating.
The Spro-Ruku shad is a bait that I lean on anytime that I'm looking for that rattling style bait. I mean, we've got the small size, the 3/8, we've got a half, we've got a 5/8. We've really got the whole gamut covered when it comes to a rattling bait. The colors that Spro offers across the board.
It's a bait that you can use when the shad are spawning, or if the fish are schooling, or if you're fishing around grass, or fishing around riprap, something where you need a lot of noise that's going to draw those fish into biting the bait. You know, so much has been written, so much has been talked about, you know, rattle type baits, but to have something that has the good components of Gamakatsu hooks on a bait that already come with it, it makes it that much more better.
Whether it's the Fat Pop of the Little John series, the McStick series, Rock Crawler series, I mean, we have got the colors covered from every bait that you want to throw. So definitely be sure and check out the whole line of Spro baits.
You know, shallow water bass fishing is something that it's an addiction to me. It's a passion of mine. I mean, I want to go shallow more than I do anything else. You know, so if I'm going fishing, I'm always looking at the bank for targets to throw at. And the reason why is I've just had success doing that. It's something that I'm comfortable doing. And so as a person or as an angler, if you're going to go fishing and you think you need to be fishing shallow, by all means go flip that cover, make a presentation of that cover, and do it with several different baits. You know, one thing I've learned over the years is I may think I need to go flip a jig in there, but if one doesn't bite that jig, I might need to throw a square bill in there. I might need to throw a spinnerbait in there. I might need to throw a shaky head in there. I can pitch it in there. But if I see shallow cover and I feel like there's a bass on it, I need to figure out how to make that bass react and catch him. You know, the size of the fish that we're catching doing this, chasing these fish in these pockets and where these wind-blown holes, they're not really the biggest ones that live in Kentucky Lake, but they're fun to fish for, and it's a great technique, you know, whether you're fishing here or Lake Texoma or anywhere in the nation. And for me, it's about getting bit, it always is, but we're gonna spend a lot of time coming up out on these main lake ledges, out on these main lake drop-offs, fishing, you know, those river channels, trying to intersect or catch up with some of those bigger fish and schools that are out there. And, but, you know, it's just a great way right here, what we've been doing today, to show you how to get bit anywhere. We're doing it on Kentucky Lake right now, but it'll work anywhere. There he is. Better fish here. Yeah, about the same size. Come here, buddy. God, I mean, that fish was so shallow. So shallow. And so much fun. Just in here eating what they think is a shad. And you're just winding it and pumping it and they will crush it. That's all there is to it.
We're wrapping up a great afternoon of fishing here on Kentucky Lake, where Wade has been spending the afternoon fishing shallow, windy points and pockets, targeting bass, feeding on threadfin shad. Wade has plans to fish again in the morning, and with the change in the weather expected, it should be a great day on the water here on Kentucky Lake.
Engel's got the original high-performance cooler and a whole lot more. Engel coolers, go with the original.
Hobie's Mirage Drive kayaks set the standard for fun on the water. Whether your passion is fishing, sailing, or recreational adventure, Hobie's got a kayak for you. Hobie's Mirage Drive mimics nature's proven designs for efficient and powerful propulsion and enhances your kayaking experience. Mirage Power, Mirage Performance, Mirage Drive. Hobie, enjoy the ride.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word: confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S61 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line.
Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges. We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
The Fisherman's Handbook is brought to you in part by Garmin, fight your fish, not your fish finder. Bradley Smoker, food smoking made easy. Sawyer Products, we keep you outdoors. Spro, sports professionals.
We literally just launched our boat here. We're at Paris, Tennessee, at Paris Landing State Park. This is actually one of my favorite places to go, and the reason why is it's got that great fishing feeling. And you know, Kentucky Lake as a whole is one of the great bass fishing lakes, as well as crappie, that you're gonna find in the nation. And people come here from all directions to catch fish. We're gonna piddle around today. There's a lot of storms in the area. We're gonna talk about fishing when the weather's kind of bad, things that we do, and see if we can't catch a few fish while we're at it, because this lake's absolutely loaded, but that means we just got to go find them or we're going to be embarrassed if we don't catch them. There he is right there. There's bite number one here in Paris. Nice little chunker. Every time I see this little stretch right here, I feel like I ought to be able to come behind here and catch one. I've never had a chance to fish it. Boy, he ate it. Love it when they get it right like that. You know, when you're out fishing in weather like this, sometimes the simplest place to unload where you can be protected is a good thing, but you know, if you're comfortable with the conditions, you can run around in any type of fishing scenario like this and probably find some great fishing. You know, you usually have low pressure when it's like this, and hit a rock right there. Thought I had another one. You usually have low pressure when you got storms like this. And it's been my experience, when you get low pressure, you catch a lot of bass. This just looks right. You know, I love to fish around marinas with rocks. I like to fish anywhere, obviously, but marinas with rocks in a scenario like this, it just feels like a great place to catch one right now. The lake is way down where we're at. You know, you got to work a little bit a lot of times to get back behind places and maneuver around them. But if you'll take your time and not make too much noise and respect the folks' property that are all around it, you can get back into some of these and really catch some great fish. Come here, buddy. Not a very big one. Imagine that's what I've had bite it the last couple times. I've missed a couple of them about that size probably that are just kind of slapping at it in this darker color water. Didn't miss that little guy.
We'll be right back with more Kentucky Lake.
What I love about the Bradley Smoker is that it cooks everything perfectly and it holds all the juices in.
So today we are going to be smoking some barbecue ribs, some venison sausage, and some dove, which is awesome.
You will never grill me doves again. I have to have them in the Bradley Smoker. I would prefer to use the Bradley Smoker every time I cooked. Well, that's really true because I love this thing. Okay. No lie. For more recipes, log on to bradleysmoker.com.
Gill that I've used for the last 5 years has been a far superior product than anything else on the market.
The main thing that's really important to me is me being dry. I've been wearing gill suits now for 3 years and never once have I gotten wet.
Heavy duty, rugged, and designed for the big game hunter and angler. The Food Saver Game Saver Titanium Vacuum Sealer has the power and performance to seal in the freshness of your game and fish for up to 3 years, 5 times longer than standard storage methods. And with its extra wide dual and repetitive sealing capabilities, that's a ton of big game savings. Tough tested and rated 4.8 out of 5 stars by outdoorsmen just like you. The Food Saver Titanium System, it's a true game changer.
There's 2 things between an angler and the fish, the sun and the bugs. Sawyer's line of sunscreens and bug sprays keep you focused on the fish. Sawyer's Stay Put sunscreen formula bonds with your skin for a more comfortable and better level protection. And picaridin insect repellent will only harm the bugs, never your fishing gear. Also, Sawyer permethrin repels and kills on contact over 55 species of insects. You're already outdoors. Sawyer keeps you there.
The Fisherman's Handbook is brought to you in part by Arctic Ice. We put the cool in coolers. Sunline America, the strength to guarantee your confidence. Big Bite Baits, designed to bring the big bite to your line.
Water's still really cold. You know, we should be a little better warming conditions where we're fishing right now. I mean, cold front just came through. It's been raining. You've seen that earlier. Water temperatures are 53, and this lake's really low. Having a hard time, really, honestly, figuring out how to catch the bigger fish. We're catching a lot of fish doing this, you know, fishing fairly shallow, but we have yet to find that big school of you know, the females that are coming in, and it's been kind of difficult for us to dissect why or what to do. We're literally running down the bank with shallow running crankbaits out to about 6 feet, and lipless crankbait as well. And catching some fish, most of the fish that we're catching are way in the back. There's a lot of bait fish all the way in the backs of these pockets, so we're just covering them as much water as we can. It'd be the same thing somebody could do at home on their lake, you know, when it gets down and it's kind of cold like that. And fishing pockets that have a lot of bait fish in them. That fish right there just smoked it. And all of these pockets are just full of big threadfin shad. And we're just trying to match the hatch, for lack of a better word. That's a nice one right there. And throwing it out there and pumping it. And you know, we're mimicking exactly what these fish are feeding on. You know, those shad that we're seeing, I mean, we know threadfin shad look just like what's sticking out of the mouth of that fish right there. And with the water temperatures being cold, those shad will die. And when they die or they struggle, they just kind of flicker down, and these fish are biting it on the paws. And the bait's just falling down and they're pow. You know, you can just see, I mean, that mimics a shad. And these fish are pretty fat, pretty chunky. We just gotta get out there and find a giant. And if we don't find a giant, that's okay. These are all heavy 2-pound fish and fun to catch. See if we can catch another one. You know, it's pretty common. I've thrown lipless crankbaits all over the nation to catch fish. You know, the grassy ditches of Rayburn and Toledo Bend, the sand drop flats at places like your Texomas here on Kentucky Lake, it's obviously working. And another thing I've always noticed, that when I catch a drum this time of the year, I catch bass. And we've caught several drum in this pocket. Oh, another good bass. We've caught several drum in this pocket. And now we finally located the bass. And these bass are on this little bit of rocky stretch right here. We fished the dirt side and didn't get any bites. Finally got over here around this rock, and it's about a foot deeper. And now we're starting to catch them. That's so fun right there.
You know, shallow water fishing across the nation is just something that you know, a lot of people do. There's a lot of people drawn to it. We like to throw to a target. You know, I don't know whether it's we want to see how accurate we are, or just the fact you know, we've always had success fishing shallow. So everywhere I go on any body of water, I'm always looking for a shallow bite. It's just something that I love to go do.
There's your Kentucky Lake good one right there. Good. Talking about right there. That's a mouthful of bass. Look at that bass right there. That's a good one right there. Fat, sassy, pre-spawn, Kentucky Lake good one. You know, you get out here, twitching around, jerking around, cranking around on these ledges and drops that this lake is so famous for. That's what you can catch. We have absolutely caught a ton of bass.
One very important and final thing I can talk about on shallow water fishing that I've noticed over the years is when I can find a lot of bait shallow, there's gonna be some bass around them. And it's almost in my mind, it's like they've herded these shad up there. Or the bluegill might be spawning and there's gonna be some bass lurking around the edges of them or whatever it may be. And when I can find bait fish in an area where there's some shallow cover, I'm almost always gonna find an old bass looking to eat one of them, and I'm hoping I can trick him into eat my bait versus those bait fish.
Oh yeah! There's your Kentucky Lake stud right there, covering water. Oh, buddy, that is so much fun right there. Love this lake. Love catching fish this way right here. God, what a good one. I might take a picture of this one. God, what a giant. What a giant right there. That is a stud right there. About 2.5, 3 foot of water right on a drop. Woo! That's fun. Let this big girl go back. Ready to go down to the depths. Okay, son, I'm gonna tell you what, that's fun right there. You can see the point right there, little chunky rock right there. We've been ripping that bait along like that and on the paws. We caught drum, and every now and then we were like, oh, that's a pretty big one. That one there, big old bass. That is so much fun. We looked at this point when we first come in, felt like it had all the dynamics to catch a big one, and we caught a ton of fish on that side over there. Thought we'd ended up right here.